Made for Maker's introduction. My name's Damo, known as oojagapivy all over the internet. Industrial arts head teacher. So I teach industrial technology like timber, furniture building, construction, engineering, STEM, design. I do a lot of DIY around the house, bit of auto mechanics DIY on my cars, especially the older ones. I like to make stuff. I teach students to make, so I'm a maker of makers. And I like walking with my dogs and sharing that sort of stuff. I'll get on with the other ones soon. This is my home work shed. And under all of this stuff is my tools. And I've also got that workspace out there. This is one of my workspaces. 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 This is one of my main workspaces. This is meant to be a workspace. Just need to tidy up. That area is the upcoming project. My wife wants me to try and get this area finished, paved, concreted, whatever, cover over it, because then I can do my making and building and working around the house here, undercover, rather than down here in front of the sheds, because we're worried about little bits of metal and that sort of stuff being lost in the ground for the puppy's feet. So I'll have to get working on this soon. Life gets so busy with uni, work, family, renovations that meals can be quite rushed sometimes. Made for Makers, day 6, easy hack. Hang on to your old and broken zip ties, doesn't matter what the colour, and with a soldering iron and this, you can do a lot of plastic welding. I've done repairs to plastic parts on my van, the trailer light cover on my trailer. I've repaired laptop tray, hinges, heaps of stuff. So don't chuck them out just in case. All you need is a soldering iron. Made for Makers day 7, barrier breakers. When I think of that, I kind of think of what sort of things can I do to break the barrier for my students when it comes to designing and making. Because so many of them go, I can't draw, I can't make, I can't. And it's just finding little activities, finding little things that they can do, showing them hints and tips. So, and some kids actually go through and follow something that has a making bent to it, because it's probably a trade where they're making. I think it's important to try and make sure that people realise that they can have a go at stuff. Made for Makers day 9, least used tool. Somewhere in there, I don't know which. There's going to be something that's buried. I've no idea what. Oh, I'll find it one day and then I'll be able to say, I haven't used that for ages. And that'll tell you. Made for Makers day 10, happy accidents. I've probably had quite a few of those in my making career over the last, too many years. And I tend to tell my students Yeah, things aren't mistakes, they're happy accidents. I don't use that terminology though. The terminology I use is that it's a design alteration or an opportunity for design change. Because quite often a happy accident doesn't mean that a project is destroyed, it just means that you can alter its trajectory or the way that something might look or work out. I bought the doohickey in a Dickies over in California many years ago, and it's been invaluable. It lives on my keys. Made for Maker day 12. Craziest build. I don't think I've done it yet. Unless you want to count this shed. Basically reframing this whole thing. This was a crazy job, and putting a brand new roof on because trees had fallen through the old one. So this was a crazy build, but well worth it. Made for Makers, day 13. When you're not making. This is one of the things that I do. I also play guitar, but not very often. And I think that's a making activity as well. I think most of my stuff is making related. Made for Makers day 14, game changer. The game changer for me was back in 1997. I was a primary school teacher, but I was actually working in an office because it was hard to get permanent jobs. And I bought the paper finder for some reason one Saturday, and I was flicking through it, and it wasn't in the classifieds, it was just an ad in the paper by the Department of Ed offering scholarships to become retrained as industrial arts teachers. I applied, I got accepted. The rest is history. I've been an industrial arts teacher ever since. That was the biggest game changer for me. There's no way I would look back on that at all. Made for Makers day 15. Shop company. I would love to say that these guys are my shop company, but they're not big fans of loud tool noise. So if I'm ever doing stuff out in the yard, or which is usually where I have to because the work shed is so small, then they usually stay in the house. So I guess I'm my shop company. Made for Makers, day 17. Question for others. How many hours in a week would you say that you're actively involved in making? So in a 7-day period, how many hours do you think you would be actively involved in a making process? You'd probably be surprised. Made for Makers, day 18. If failure wasn't an option. If failure wasn't an option, I would love to be able to make a comfortable living as a maker or as an artist maker. And that way I could move and live anywhere we like. Could have land, property, whatever. But unfortunately, I'm afraid of that failure. And I do enjoy my job, and it's secure and stable. But maybe one day I'll make that leap. Made for Makers Day 20. Maker's Block. Definitely exists. They call things artist block as well. But anything where you're trying to come up with something creative and you get stuck. And I feel like the way to try and get past it, either take a break, look for inspiration somewhere else. That's what I do with my students. Look for inspiration. Look for something that could possibly fill a need for you. And work from there. See if you can play with the design a bit. Yeah. Maker's block can be hard to overcome. Made for Makers, Day 21. Music to my ears. That. Quiet. Made for Makers Day 22. Turning point. See Day 14. My game changer was my turning point. That was when my career as a maker of makers began. Made for Makers Day 24, influences. I'd have to say I'm influenced by way too many people now because the access to influential things is just so much broader. But my original influence was my pop, who taught me a lot of making skills, and my dad, who had a real just go for it DIY attitude for stuff around the house. I never realised that until I actually got older and saw a lot more of the stuff that he did. So they're my two main influences. Other people provide influence and inspiration, but I wouldn't say that they're my direct influence. Made for Makers Day 25. Your drive. I think my drive actually comes from seeing students succeed. When they capture an idea and are able to work with it and mould it to their own way of thinking and things and having success, that's my drive. For myself, just being able to relax with making is a drive, but I don't find a lot of time for that. There's a lot of things that I want to do and make, and work and renovations take over that. During lockdown, I had to teach from home, so my wife bought me a whiteboard for my study, and that's where I taught from via Zoom. Made for Makers Day 27, aspirations. I think in my career path, I do have aspirations for moving up into leadership roles, higher than what I have as a head teacher now, so becoming a deputy. Not sure if I want to go all the way to principal. Aspirations away from work. I really would love to be able to retire and make the living as an artist maker. That may not happen until I actually reach retirement age though. Made for Makers Day 28, not yet explored. CNC work. I haven't really explored that, and I'd love to. I've got access to a laser now. I've got access to 3D printing. All sorts of woodwork, welding, metalwork, all that sort of stuff. Plastics. But without woodworking CNCs, I'll have to make that clarification, because I do have access to a metalworking CNC lathe. But I really need to explore that more. It's the way of the future, isn't it? A for Makers, day 29, collaboration. The word collaboration to me, I guess in the maker world sense, is two or more people getting together to work on something, have a mutual business relationship that is going to be beneficial or add value for both parties. I personally don't know how to go about them. Part of my thing about not getting into them is time. I try to make the time for doing those sort of things, getting involved with it. And because of where I'm based, if I had to post anything anywhere, it'd cost me an arm and a leg. So I have been contacted by a number of companies to be a brand influencer. I recently got one that just said collab, DM. And I think for each of them I have looked at them seriously. Some of them have required me to buy something up front, and some of the products I've gone, that actually looks like good and like something that I would use, but I just didn't want to pull the trigger at the time. I think with some of them I might get in contact and see if it's still available, but I guess we'll see. Like I said, it's got to be beneficial for both me and the other person. And I think my imposter syndrome makes me not feel like I could contribute enough value to the other person. I'm only a very small fish in the maker world, and that puts a lot of self-doubt in my head about doing collaborations, because I do think it needs to be. I think most collaborations would probably be beneficial for me, but it's got to be beneficial for the other person as well, the other party. Anyway.